Protesters gathered in swarms outside the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. following the overturning of Roe v. Wade. SCOTUS voted 6-3 to uphold Mississippi's law that bans abortions after 15 weeks, then voted 5-4 to overturn Roe v. Wade. The court's ruling does not make abortion illegal, but with access to the procedure no longer deemed a constitutional right, it has now gone back for the states to decide. Good evening, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I'm Sean Mooney. It may have been anticipated, but the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade has rocked the country. So the big question remaining is, now what? Local leaders sound off, both for and against the decision. People both pro-life and pro-choice are taking to the streets to let their voices be heard. The News 4 Tucson team is speaking with people on this historic moment. But first, let's go over this morning's decision in detail. Karen Kafa reports.
Roe v. Wade is no more after the court issued an historic opinion Friday overturning the landmark decision that stood for nearly 50 years.
We trust women. We won't go back.
The decision laid out in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, written by Justice Samuel Alito, finds that there is no longer a federal constitutional right to an abortion. Alito wrote in part, Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. Its reasoning was exceptionally weak, and the decision has had damaging consequences. The three dissenting judges, Kagan, Sotomayor, and Breyer, warn that this decision will have a wide-ranging impact on women across the country, writing, whatever the exact scope of the coming laws, one result of today's decision is certain: the curtailment of women's rights and of their status as free and equal citizens. At least 24 states are now in position to ban abortion, which could lead to a number of future legal showdowns.
It's a slap in the face to women about using their own judgment to make their own decisions about their reproductive freedom.
Conservatives like former Vice President Mike Pence commending the justices for, quote, having the courage of their convictions. President Joe Biden, meanwhile, had this to say.
The only way we can secure a woman's right to choose, and the balance that existed, is for Congress to restore the protections of Roe v. Wade as federal law.
Outside the Supreme Court, I'm Karen Kafa.
And dozens of pro-life rallies are being held across the country, including here in Tucson. News 4 Tucson's Rebecca Taylor has the details from the local rally in front of the Planned Parenthood office in Midtown.
While pro-life advocates are celebrating, they know there's more work to do as the debate moves to individual states.
This is not the victory. This is a victory. It's progress. I'm cautiously optimistic that eventually America as a nation will become totally abortion-free.
Bob Pawson, a retired school teacher, has been a pro-life advocate for 40 years. He helped organize this rally outside Tucson's Planned Parenthood, the same place Pam Anderson says she met a young woman contemplating abortion. Anderson is happy to share that baby is now a year old and the family is thriving.
We all came around, wrapped our arms around her, prayed for her, loved her. We helped her boyfriend get a job the very next day. She told me last Mother's Day, she said the greatest gift in her life was this child.
Coming up at 6 o'clock, you'll hear from men and why they tell me they were compelled to participate in today's pro-life rally. I'm Rebecca Taylor, News 4 Tucson.
Today's landmark decision will affect states in different ways. News 4 Tucson's Chorus Nylander is in downtown Tucson with more on what to expect here in southern Arizona.
Well, there are more than a dozen states with so-called trigger laws, which are laws designed to go into effect immediately after a decision like today's from the Supreme Court. To many people's surprise, Arizona is not one of them, but that shouldn't come as a sigh of relief for people who are pro-choice. Tonight, a decision that will go into the history books, but what will be written in the footnote next to Arizona remains to be seen. The state may be without fast-acting trigger laws, but it's ahead of the pack when it comes to pro-life policies.
Arizona is one of the most hostile states to abortion in the country.
Planned Parenthood Arizona putting an immediate halt to abortion services today across the state. In March, Governor Ducey signed into law more restrictions on abortion access, limiting the procedure to 15 weeks, but that law still doesn't go into effect until September. A 1901 law also remains on the books, making it a crime to aid in abortions in Arizona. Planned Parenthood Arizona says there has long been an injunction on that law, and it will need legal steps to reimpose it. The big question, will enforcement of that return? Earlier this month, the city of Tucson passed a resolution with support from the police department to try and stop that from happening in the city limits.
We've already put into place the mechanism by which we are not going to arrest people, and we will turn any cases over to the Arizona Department of Health Services.
Will the city resolution truly stop an effort from the state to carry out such a law? Councilmember Steve Kozachik says if they truly support the idea of home rule, they will. He says there's a portion of land off Grand and I-10 the city owns that is in the process of being given to the Pasco Yaqui tribe. He says the city, in coordination with the tribe, is planning to invite Planned Parenthood to continue abortions there on what would be tribal land.
So the Supreme Court does not have jurisdiction over Indian land. And so we've already put that into place, too.
And today's historic decision now certainly causing a long road ahead for legal challenges. Reporting from downtown Tucson, Cor Snylander, News 4 Tucson.